My name is Margaret Collins, though most people just call me Maggie. At 62 years old, I had lived long enough to see both the beauty and the cruelty of life. I had raised children, worked a demanding job, buried a husband I loved, and fought through years of people treating me as though I were invisible simply because I had wrinkles on my skin and gray streaks in my hair. This story is about how one man underestimated me, completely dismissed me as too old, too fragile, too irrelevant to make a difference. And how that very mistake changed everything for him, and for me. It all began in the quiet suburb of Ashwood, where I had lived for over 30 years. The neighborhood had changed, young families moved in, old ones left, and I was one of the few who stayed. The new generation of homeowners often looked at me as if I were just another relic of the past, someone who belonged in rocking chairs and retirement communities, not someone capable of still shaping the world around me. The most arrogant of them was Jason Miller, a 35-year-old entrepreneur who moved in next door. Jason was successful, handsome, and incredibly dismissive. He treated everyone older than him like they were in his way. When we first met, I baked him a plate of oatmeal cookies and carried them over as a welcome gift. He opened the door, glanced at me, and said, "Oh, thanks. My grandma used to make these." Then he chuckled, muttering under his breath, "Guess you're around that age too." I smiled politely, but deep down, I felt the sting of his words. Over the next several months, I watched Jason build his life next door. His yard became a gathering place for loud parties, expensive cars lined his driveway, and he often ignored simple neighborhood courtesies. Trash bins left out for days, loud music past midnight, cars blocking my driveway. Whenever I tried to gently remind him, he would dismiss me with a wave of his hand. "Relax, Maggie. No one cares about these old rules anymore. Times have changed." But what Jason didn't know was that times may have changed, but principles don't. One evening, things took a more serious turn. My granddaughter Lily, a sweet 15-year-old, came to spend the weekend with me. We were sitting on my porch, sipping lemonade, when Jason pulled into his driveway with a group of his friends. They were laughing loudly, carrying boxes of beer, and one of them made a remark that made Lily uncomfortable. I noticed her shrinking in her seat. That was the moment I realized Jason's arrogance wasn't just harmless immaturity, it had the potential to cause real harm. The following week, the Homeowners Association called a community meeting. Jason showed up late, wearing sunglasses indoors, leaning back in his chair as though the entire room revolved around him. When the topic of neighborhood safety and noise complaints came up, he smirked. "Come on, folks," he said. "This isn't a retirement village. We're young, we're alive, we should be allowed to have fun. If someone doesn't like it, maybe they're just too old to matter." His eyes flicked toward me when he said it. The room went quiet. For a moment, I felt the familiar wave of invisibility wash over me. But then something inside me snapped. I had been underestimated my whole life. People thought being older meant being powerless, voiceless, irrelevant. But they were wrong. I raised my hand. "Jason," I said calmly, "you think age takes away our strength. But let me tell you something, you'll never know what strength truly is until you've lived as long as I have. You'll never know resilience until you've buried a spouse, raised children on your own, and fought battles you thought you couldn't win. Don't confuse age with weakness." The room filled with quiet murmurs of agreement. Jason looked caught off guard. From that moment forward, I decided to take a stand. I began organizing the neighbors, not through confrontation, but through kindness, persistence, and wisdom. I hosted community dinners, planted flowers in neglected corners of our street, and encouraged others to speak up about the things that mattered. Slowly, people started to rally around me. Jason's dismissive smirks faded as he realized the community was beginning to value my voice more than his. And then came the turning point. One night, after another of Jason's wild parties, a fire broke out in his backyard. The flames spread quickly toward his garage, where he stored gas containers for his lawn equipment. Jason and his friends panicked. But I had lived through emergencies before. Without hesitation, I called the fire department, organized neighbors to form a water line, and guided everyone to safety. When the fire was finally under control, Jason sat on the curb, his head in his hands. For the first time, he looked vulnerable. He looked up at me and said quietly, "I thought you were just too old to matter. But tonight, you saved my house. You saved me." I placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Jason, you'll learn one day that wisdom isn't something money or youth can buy. Respect is earned, not demanded." From then on, Jason changed. He began treating me with respect, seeking my advice, even helping me with yard work. Slowly, the arrogance faded, replaced by humility. And as for me, I realized something important too. Being older didn't make me invisible. It made me powerful in ways younger people couldn't understand. My years had given me perspective, strength, and the courage to stand tall when others doubted me. So, to anyone who thinks someone is too old to matter, remember my story. Remember that wisdom, courage, and strength don't fade with time. They grow. And those who underestimate them will always be proven wrong.